Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope that you've been enjoying my stories on this channel as much as you've been enjoying my other channel, Crucian Mahogany. It's a true crime case and it has to do with children. Anybody who's not able to watch a story that speaks about children, parental neglect, if you find true crime triggering, please do not watch this video. But if you are not in that frame of mind, please stay tuned. We're going to be talking about the case of Banita Jacks. On January 9, 2008, federal marshals came to a red brick house on southeast Washington, D.C. It was a row house and they came there to serve a eviction notice. The woman who lived there came to the door wearing just like a white shirt with a brown smudge on it, and she refused to allow them inside the house. When the U.S. Marshals identified themselves, the woman attempted to shut the door and lock them out, but one of the marshals placed his foot between the door and was able to gain access into the house. They forced their way into that dark home. Now these marshals said that they could smell immediately the smell of like rotten meat, like stink bait. That's what they called it, which they thought maybe it was like rotten food or boiled food. As the marshals came into the house, the woman attempted to block their entry into the upstairs part of the house or slow them down. She sat down on the stairs and attempted to like stop them from going up the stairs. Of course, the marshals were able to push past her, move her out the way, and go on up the stairs. As they reached the top of the staircase, one of the marshals reported seeing the bodies of small children laying on the floor side by side in the bedroom. They were laying side by side and they were in a very bad state. The bodies of the young girls were lined up according to age, and there were 3 young girls in that room, each wearing a white t-shirt only. And that was immediately as you walk into the upstairs, the room directly in front of you. This is where they saw these 3 young girls. To the left, there's a doorway where the marshals eventually opened that door and found the body of another young woman. The young woman was nude and laying on the floor in a pool of blood underneath a white t-shirt. So a white t-shirt was covering her. She was laying in a pool of blood, and according to their mother, the woman who answered the door, all 4 of her daughters died in their sleep. Although she had made attempts to awaken them, she was unsuccessful. This was the story that she told those marshals. Banita Jacks. This is the woman that opened that door that fateful day. She was a DC resident convicted of murdering her 4 children, her 4 daughters, who ranged from the age of 5 years old to 16 years old.
A Washington, D.C. mother has been found guilty of killing all 4 of her daughters and keeping their bodies inside her home. This was the scene 18 months ago. Investigators wheeling the badly decomposed bodies of 4 girls out of their row house. Now their mother, 34-year-old Banita Jacks, is facing life in prison on murder and child cruelty charges.
This is very sad. Nobody comes out of this courthouse happy. Can't bring these kids back.
U.S. Marshal deputies stumbled upon the mummified bodies while carrying out an eviction back in January of 2008. According to local TV station 𝐤𝐥𝐢𝐜, the medical examiner later determined the girls had been dead for 7 months. Evidence showed the youngest girls, who ranged in age from 11 to 5, were strangled. Experts say the oldest one, 16-year-old Brittany, was stabbed, but it's not clear if that's what killed her. The judge who decided the case says he is certain about one thing when it comes to the teenager. The torture she experienced at the hands of her mother played a role in her death. No one seems to know what drove Jacks to murder her children, but it seems that she was extremely depressed over the death of her boyfriend and father of her 6- and 5-year-old. The public defenders representing Jacks say they will appeal Wednesday's decision. Her sentencing is scheduled for October. Carlotta Bradley, The Associated Press.
So let's rewind and find out what happened or what led to discovery in this house. By the time she was 16 years old, she was a freshman in high school and pregnant with her first child, which was the eldest child, Brittany. 2 months after giving birth to Brittany, she dropped out of high school. When she was 20 years old, she filed a paternity test against a man that year, asserting that he was the father of Brittany. And then in 1996, with the paternity test on Brittany still uncertain or unsafe, settled, Jacks gave birth to another daughter, Tatiana. This was her second child, and this led to another paternity case. So Jacks was living with her mother, who we'll call Mamie Jacks or Mamie Jacks, in Waldorf, Maryland during this time. Now, the second man did acknowledge he was the father of Tatiana, and he began to pay child support, or at least he acknowledged. We don't know about if he paid child support and how much he paid or anything like that. However, the man in the first case, in Brittany's case, the eldest daughter's case, continued denying that he was the father of Brittany. He submitted a DNA sample, but initially Banita failed to provide a DNA sample of Brittany to confirm if he was her father or not. After she failed to show up for a hearing in the case in 1999, a judge issued a warrant for her apprehension. And on December 11th of that year, a few weeks before she was gonna turn 25 years old, Jacks was picked up by a county sheriff and she was jailed for 2 days. A day later, she provided those DNA samples. According to the court records, tests soon proved that that first man, was not the father of her eldest daughter, Brittany. The father did eventually turn up 10 years later. In 2001, Jacks filed a paternity claim against him. He did acknowledge he was the father. He was ordered to pay child support to support his daughter Brittany. He fell behind on payments, much like many men that's put on child support, and it was unclear how much money Jack got at all. This young woman with 2 children, possibly not getting much support from their fathers. She was alone and she was struggling. But as far as people that would see her with her children and those that knew her and her children, they described her as a loving, doting mother who did everything in her power to provide for her children. So it would seem until something would happen and her luck would change. It was about this time, in the year 2000, that she began a new chapter in her life. She enrolled in Aaron's Academy of Beauty, a cosmetology school in Waldorf, Maryland, and this is where she met 𝐼𝐸𝐿 Jr. in 2000. Apparently, he came into the school to get braids and he liked the way that Banita did his cornrows. Not long after they met, they moved in together. Their first daughter together, 𝐿𝐸𝐿, was born in 2002, and 𝐜𝐥𝐢𝐜𝐿, second daughter between them, but Brittany's fourth child arrived a year later in 2003. Now, except for breaks that she took to have her children, Brittany continued to attend the school, and so she was very persistent in continuing to go to school to make a better life for herself, for her children, and she ultimately obtained her cosmetology license in the year 2005. Unfortunately for her and her children, the family would then again fall back on hard times. They would end up living in homeless shelters, being isolated, and reliant on public assistance. But no one could ever imagine or foreseen what would happen next and how quickly things can fall apart. Now, in 2005, Banita lived with her mom for a short time, but her mother did not allow 𝐿𝐸𝐿, her boyfriend, to live with her as well. So because of that, the family started to move from place to place. This was including that homeless shelter I mentioned, until a nonprofit organization helped them to move to Washington, D.C. in the rowhouse that we spoke of. She moved to that rowhouse in August of 2006. After 2005, her mom had not seen her at all. Her mom said that she had no reason to think that her child or her grandchildren were in any danger, in spite of a call she made to Charles County Social Services in 2006 for information about the girls. Later in court, she testified she never saw her daughter Banita mistreat the girls. The girls never complained about being mistreated. However, a friend with whom Banita and 𝐸𝐿 had lived with for several months in 2006 testified about arguments occurring between Brittany, the eldest daughter, and Banita. How Banita would punish her daughter by denying her food and isolating her from the younger girls. That friend also testified that Banita and 𝐸𝐿 often allowed their daughters, the youngest two, 𝐜𝐥𝐢𝐜 and 𝐼𝐸𝐿, ages 3 and 4 years old at the time, to smoke marijuana while their parents laughed. Banita's boyfriend, 𝐸𝐿 Jr., died of cancer in February 2007. The family's living situation began to deteriorate quickly in February after his death. The grandmother of the 2 youngest children, 𝐸𝐿's mother, said she tried to see Jacks after her son passed, but no one answered the door. And when she returned home, there was an abusive voicemail from Banita Banita, berating her for visiting. The grandmother said she made another attempt to contact Banita a few months later. Again, no one came to the door. After Fogel's death, Banita grew increasingly isolated. She did not attend Nathaniel's funeral, and the family members said that she did not tell her daughters that Nathaniel had died. A neighbor testified that Banita had taken her daughter to McDonald's along with Banita's own children in March of 2007, and that Banita and her daughters were always clean and their hair was well done. But when the neighbor saw Banita again a month later, her children were wearing white t-shirts and rags on their heads and looking very unkempt. Banita told the neighbor that her food stamps had run out and she was reluctant to apply for more due to the overwhelming paperwork that was necessary to apply. Now, the eldest daughter, Banita Jacks, did have a boyfriend, and this boyfriend testified that he saw Brittany for the last time in March of 2007 after she had been absent for school for a full month. At that time, she seemed a little sad. After that brief visit, Brittany stopped replying to his messages on MySpace or to any messages on her cell phone from her boyfriend. In April and May 2007, Brittany's social worker, Kathleen Lopes, made repeated attempts to verify Brittany's safety. At that time, Lopes was an employee of the Booker T. Washington Charter School, which Brittany attended. On April 27, Lopes first visited the Jacks home after Brittany Jacks, 16 years old at the time, missed 33 days of school and no one answered a phone in the house. Lopes visited the Jacks home with a police officer and another school employee, but Banita Jacks refused to allow anyone inside. Lopes said that the parent was home, but she wouldn't open the door, and this is what she reported to a hotline worker at the city's Child and Family Services Agency. She said she told them that the eldest daughter, Brittany, who was one of her students, was at the home, but Banita would not let her see her. Lopes testified that she saw the youngest two children in the living room and they appeared very unkempt. Over the next few days, Lopes made repeated calls to the CFSA as well as to the police. And from what she could see, the home did not appear clean, is what Lopes reported to the police. The children did not appear clean, and it seems that the mother is suffering from some mental illness and she's holding all of the children in the home hostage. The operator took the information, but the operator also reminded Lopes, who was clearly distraught about the situation and about not being able to see the eldest child, Brittany. Banita, the mom, did not have to let her inside the home. It was her right not to do so. Lopes called again on April 30th and she talked with the non-emergency 311 operator, and she said, "I've been transferred all over the place. I need someone to go to that home where I believe abuse and neglect is occurring, and I don't want to be transferred to someone else." So Lopes was very persistent in trying to find out what's happening with at least the eldest, and if not, the other children as well. She was the light in this scenario where it seems like she was very, very concerned about these children, and many people, even the neighbors or family members, weren't as concerned in forcing their hand at trying to make sure that the children were okay. Lopes told CFSA that it's a very urgent matter and CFSA is pretty much sitting on it, and she would like someone to go to the home and check out the home. As a result of Lopes' call, a Sergeant James LaFranchise went to visit the home and visited the home on April 30th, 2007. This officer interviewed Banita in her front yard, but this officer did not file an official report until January 9th, 2008, the day that the girls' bodies were discovered. It said that at the time of the visit that there was no requirement to file an official report when checking on the welfare of a resident. In the initial report, LaFranchise said that he had only seen the three younger girls on his visit. He filed a follow-up report on January 13th that said he thought he saw Brittany, the eldest, as well. He reported during the homicide investigation that the girls, including Brittany, appeared clean and well-fed, healthy and playful. But when he was questioned at the trial, the officer said that he had not seen Brittany at the house. He said that he had not been able to look for the teenager and assumed that he was there to look after the three younger children, even though he spoke to Lopes on his cell phone while he was there at the home. The DC Police Department ended up conducting an internal investigation on this officer because of his inconsistent reports. Now, on May 10th, Lopes wrote a letter to the Social Services Department Division of DC Superior Court expressing her fear that Brittany was being held hostage. However, the social workers did not investigate her concerns. In May 2007, Jacks moved all of the furniture from her house into the backyard and started losing weight. She told neighbor, whom she often asked for water and for cigarettes, that she had cancer. During the summer, former neighbors started to smell a foul odor in the neighborhood, in the area, and much of them guessed that it was like a dead rat. The last person to see any of the children alive was a neighbor and family friend who delivered Social Security checks to Banita twice a month. And this neighbor said that she saw the two youngest girls in the family's living room on June 2007. But she also mentioned that she had not even seen Brittany herself for several months. Now on January 9th, back to January 9th, in 2008, when the marshals came to serve the eviction notice. This eviction came after a mortgage loan company bought the home through a foreclosure sale. No one responded to notices to move, and a judge ordered the evictions in October. 3 marshals showed up at the home at 9:30 a.m. Wednesday to clear out the house. This is when Banita came to the door wearing only a white t-shirt. In an upstairs bedroom, the marshals found religious writings on the wall, and they found the bodies of the 3 younger girls lined up according to age. The body of Banita Jacks, the eldest, was in another bedroom upstairs, nude and lying on the floor in a pool of blood underneath a white t-shirt. Police say that Banita, aged 35, killed her daughters during the summer of 2007 and lived with their bodies in the house for at least 6 months before they were discovered on that January morning in 2008 when the marshals were doing a standard eviction. The youngest daughter, 𝐜𝐥𝐢𝐜, age 5, had been strangled and beaten. According to a 12-count indictment returned by the grand jury, 𝐃𝐨𝐴𝐷𝐿, age 6, and Banita Jacks, age 11, were strangled, and Banita Jacks, age 15, whom her mother referred to as 𝐜𝐥𝐢𝐜, was stabbed, the indictment said. According to the charging document, Jacks told the police her eldest daughter, Brittany, died in her sleep. She said that the children began dying in their sleep, one at a time, all within a 7 to 10 day period. She said that as the first 3 younger children died, she placed them side by side in the room in which they died. Prosecutors also quoted Banita as saying that she had not fed the children for a substantial period of time before they died. The medical examiners who examined the bodies determined that the 3 younger girls had been strangled and Brittany had been stabbed repeatedly. But due to the body's high level of decomposition, examiners were unable to definitively attribute these injuries as causing the girls' death. According to Banita, all 4 of her daughters died in their sleep, although she had made unsuccessful attempts to revive them. During an 8-hour-long videotape interrogation with detectives, Banita said that the 3 youngest girls died in their sleep, although the medical examiners could only speculate on exactly how they died. One thing was certain: the girls did not simply drift into death. Banita told the detectives she did not call for help because she didn't want to get in trouble. Medical examiners ruled that Brittany died first, about May or June 2007. Her remains were skeletonized in a bedroom covered with a white t-shirt. Next to her body was a knife. Prosecutors based on an autopsy that Banita had fatally stabbed the teen, but the autopsy could not definitively determined that Brittany had died of the wounds because the punctures in her abdomen were not near any vital organs, and also there was no fingerprint or DNA traces on the knife. Banita, who attended the hearing in the DC Superior Court wearing a white prison jumpsuit, did not speak other than to give her name. Family members filled 3 rows of the courtroom behind her but declined to comment after the proceedings. Her attorney, Peter Krotheimer, a public defender, argued at the hearing nothing connected the children's death to Banita. She has had previous arrests for traffic offenses but no criminal history. According to her defense attorney, she should be released while awaiting trial because she posed no threat to society. The prosecutor, however, Deborah Saenz, countered, "How many bodies do you need?" The magistrate judge agreed that evidence warranted keeping Banita locked up pending a hearing on February 11th. Now, outside the courthouse was a woman who was prisoned with Banita and spent the day with her in a cell block area. And she told reporters that the other prisoners asked Banita if she had killed her children, and she told them yes. They said that she kept talking about the kids had demons in them. They said that Banita smelled like death, and the odor was so strong that the other prisoners asked for masks. This inmate said that the woman, speaking of Banita, is crazy. Friends and family members were also looking for answers too, and one of the godmothers, who was close friends with Nathaniel, said that Jacks depended heavily on him and was really devastated when he died of cancer in 2007. It said that he was more of the breadwinner in the house, and he made sure they had food on the table and clothes on their backs, and he took any job he could to help support his family. And apparently when he passed away, it was as though Banita could not accept that he was gone, and many say that they don't think that she could get it together after he passed. It was said of the children, the youngest two, 𝐿𝐥𝐢𝐜𝐤 and 𝐻𝐥𝐢𝐜𝐤, that they were full of energy and they would just cling to you. Tatiana was full of joy and enjoyed playing with the two younger girls, and described Brittany as a normal teenager. She hung out with her friends. This godmother also said that Nathaniel wanted her to help with the family, help look after the family, and this person said that they tried. This person is there for them to help them, but Banita always insisted that she was doing okay, she was all right. This person said, "As I was coming over to give her mail, I just wish she opened up to me and just talk, because I believe those girls would be alive if she did." Banita was on trial for 12 charges, including premeditated first-degree murder, felony murder, and cruelty to children towards each of her 4 daughters. This trial began on July 15, 2009 in the Superior Court of the District of Columbia. Jacks pled not guilty and rejected the insanity defense, even though it was being encouraged that she take the insanity defense. She rejected that. Assistant U.S. Attorney Deborah Saenz said in her opening statement at Jack's murder trial that Banita had a secret in her upstairs bedroom, a secret so terrible that she spent most of 2007 trying to convince the world that she had moved away from Southeast Washington, D.C. For months, the prosecutor told the judge that Banita kept her blinds drawn, let the mail pile up outside the house, stopped paying bills, and left by the back door. Her secret was the rotting bodies of her daughters, and that secret unraveled when the marshals arrived on January 9, 2008. In the defense's 20-minute opening statement, one of her public defenders, Lloyd Nolan, said that although his client lived in the house, she was completely innocent of killing the girls. This was a tragic incident, Nolan said, but Miss Jacks was in no way responsible for the death of her children. Nolan said that the only evidence linking Jacks to the girls' death was that she was home when the marshals arrived. And Nolan said no witnesses saw or overheard Jack kill her children, and that no scientific evidence linked her to their death. Judge Frederick H. Weisberg will decide the case, and this is because Banita decided to waive her right to have a jury. Banita, who rejected the insanity plea, faces life in prison without parole. The prosecutor said that the bodies were so badly decayed that they had to consult 4 medical examiners, including one from the Department of Defense, FBI specialist, and a forensic anthropologist to determine the causes of death. 𝐜𝐥𝐢𝐜 had been strangled and beaten, and the other 2 girls were strangled. During the prosecutor's opening statements, Banita, 35 years old at the time, dressed in a navy blue prison jumpsuit, often shook her head and pursed her lips, but she kept her eyes forward, away from the prosecutor. As was the case in the earlier hearings, Banita was an active participant in her defense. She wrote notes using a yellow highlighter to communicate with her attorney, and sometimes whispered to ask whether she had questions or additional questions. The prosecutor spent most of the opening statement describing the girls' bodies and the home. A couple pairs of tiny flip-flops were the only other things in the room. The prosecutor also stated that the examiners determined that Brittany was killed first, and said that the decomposed body was, quote, melting into the floor. Prosecutor mentioned that it appeared that Brittany had been held hostage in the room because the door was locked from the outside with a key that Banita had kept on the top of the door frame. A bedsheet covered a bedroom window that overlooked an alley. Feces and urine were found in the closet. She wouldn't even allow her own teenager to use the bathroom. The prosecutor mentioned in her opening that she planned to call as witnesses relatives, friends, the children's godparents, social workers, and neighbors who will testify that Banita verbally abused Brittany or that she withheld food from her as punishment. And even one of Banita's friends had drafted a custody agreement hoping to take Brittany out of Banita's home. Authorities say that Banita started to isolate herself and her children from friends and family as early as April 2007 when she had Brittany's cell phone disconnected. By April 3rd, no one talked to Brittany again. Then through the summer, the neighbors said they would see 3, then 2, then 1 child outside with Banita. Before the trial began, the judge spent 3 days watching 8 hours of videotape of Banita being interrogated by the DC detectives.
A barefoot Banita Jacks wearing a white paper jumpsuit inside an interview room at MPD headquarters. At times, her head in her hand or her head down on the table. Remember, this videotaped interview took place January 9th, 2008, the day her children's bodies were found. When someone came into the interview room to ask if she needed something to eat, Jacks responded, "Yes, I do. I ain't eaten since October." She said that everyone in the household was, quote, weak and disoriented, including her 4 daughters, ages 3, 4, 10, and 16. She told the detectives, quote, "We would eat if I got enough money. They got used to it. Well, not that they got used to it, but they understood." The videotaped interview lasts for hours. When detectives ask Jacks specifically what happened to her children, she told them, quote, "The whole thing sounds ridiculous. If I explain it to you all will go, oh my God, she's crazy."
Now you says that the kids didn't wake up.
No.
Right. Now, huh?
One after the other.
One after the other.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Okay, which one didn't wake up first?
The little ones.
The little one didn't wake up at first. Okay. Then.
The next to the
Then who?
youngest.
The next to the youngest. How much time passed by before the little one didn't wake up to the one next to the youngest didn't wake up?
Okay, wait a minute. What are you saying?
Right. When you're saying that they didn't wake up.
It was one night and then the next night.
Okay.
2 days later and then the next one.
Okay. One night, the littlest one don't wake up. Right?
Mm-hmm. Well, the next morning, I didn't know until the morning.
Okay, you didn't know till the morning. The morning time, the little one don't wake up. What's the little one's name? 𝐿𝐥𝐢𝐜𝐤. Okay, 𝐿𝐥𝐢𝐜 don't wake up. Okay. 2 nights passes, then who?
No, the next night.
The next night,
We go to sleep.
we go to sleep.
Wake up.
𝐜𝐥𝐢𝐜𝐤 don't wake up.
Yes.
Okay.
2 nights pass.
2 nights pass.
And then they go to sleep and the next morning, Tatiana doesn't wake up.
Okay, Tatiana. Okay, she don't wake up. Okay. Then, how long after this?
I'm not sure how long. It was before the oldest one. I'm not sure.
You're not sure. But the oldest one, Brittany, was the last one to not to wake up. Okay. And what did you think happened to him?
Like I was telling them, I didn't understand exactly what happened. I was thinking about it and it just didn't make any sense.
interviews, Banita spoke of her children as having demons and referred to herself as Mary Magdalene and to her dead boyfriend as Jesus Christ. Banita repeatedly told the district homicide detectives that the demon possessed her daughters, but that she was confident that they would return from the dead when the demons died. During the interview, Banita began sobbing when detectives pulled out a box of family photos that included several of her 4 dead daughters. She cried again when detective pulled out a picture of a sonogram from when she was carrying 𝐿𝐥𝐢𝐜𝐤. In the video, new details emerged about Banita's confrontational relationship with Brittany. Banita said she was possessed with a Jezebel demon and was the most difficult to control. Banita said that her daughter was about 6'1" and they fought twice after Brittany ran away from home. Banita said that she kept Brittany in her room so she wouldn't influence her sisters, and she described a chaotic existence, a chaotic life after her live-in boyfriend of 7 years, Nathaniel Fogel Jr., died of cancer in February of 2007. She said, but then Nathaniel appeared to her in a dream and told her that all 4 girls will be taken from her. Banita says, to stop my suffering, Nathaniel took them, she said, but they would be resurrected. Banita said that Fogel told her in a dream that the 2 of them will be together again. Banita said that in order for Fogel and herself for the 2 of them to be together again, that she would have to suffer. She said he was trying to protect me. When Banita was told about Nathaniel dying, she would continue to correct the detective, saying, no, he went to sleep. She said 𝐿𝐥𝐢𝐜𝐤 died in her sleep first. Her story is that 𝐿𝐥𝐢𝐜 died in her sleep first, and while her 2 sisters lived with the body in their bedroom. One of the sisters, Banita said, thought that 𝐿𝐥𝐢𝐜's death was funny. They didn't care. 𝐿𝐥𝐢𝐜 died the next night. And then Tatiana, who had green stuff pouring out of her mouth and nose. And then Tatiana, who Banita said was said to have had green stuff pouring out of her mouth and nose. She said the weaker the girls got, the weaker the demons got. And Banita said that the entire time this was happening, that Brittany was in the room next door, pounding against the walls, saying to her that I know what's going on in there and I know what you're doing. I'm going to get you. This is what Banita said Brittany was saying in the room next door. She said one morning she found Brittany lying on her back on the hardwood floor with her mouth open. Banita said she saw this sight from the doorway of that room but didn't go inside the room. Eventually, Jack said she put all the furniture outside because the demons had infiltrated the furniture, everything in the house. She said spirits and demons have a different smell, so little by little I had to get rid of everything, she said. When detectives Darryl Richmond and Detective Mitchell Cradle asked Banita how Brittany died, she said that she would rather talk to her attorney. She would not reveal how the girls were killed. They also kept asking her, why didn't she seek help? You were getting used to their bodies now? They were like furniture. You let them turn into skeletons. The videos were played by Banita's attorneys for the judge during a motions hearing preceding the trial. Brittany's attorneys wanted their clients' answers to police disallowed. However, the judge ruled that the videos could be used in the trial. Banita requested that she not be present in the courtroom when those videotapes were played, and because of that she remained in a cell in a superior court. So at the end of the trial, the verdict, guilty of all charges except first-degree murder of Brittany Jacks, who was decided by the presiding judge, Frederick H. Weisberg. On December 18, 2009, following her conviction, Banita was sentenced by the judge to 120 years in prison, 30 years for the murder of each of her 4 children. Banita's defense team filed a motion calling the early refusal use the insanity defense, but that was rejected by Judge Weisberg. And he also rejected the defense's suggestion that the sentences should run concurrently. Her current release date is June 5th of 2110. 2 days following the discovery of the dead bodies of the Jacks-Fogel children, Mayor Adrian Fenty announced findings of a preliminary investigation of the district agency involvement and previewed reforms to take place in the district in response to this tragedy. Mayor Fenty fired 6 welfare workers Sunday, January 13, 2008. 2008, saying they just didn't do their job. In the case of 4 girls who had not been seen for months, their decomposing bodies were found at a home the prior week after their mother calmly answered the door. These dismissals were delivered about 10 p.m. Sunday to the homes of 2 social workers, 2 managers, and 2 phone operators who work at the Child and Family Services Agency. Fenty said at least 2 other employees might be let go as the investigation proceeds. He said that all the requisite information was available to our people, but the follow-up was never done. He praised Lope's effort to pierce the city's bureaucracy as exceptional, but also said that such persistence and dedication ought to be the norm. She stands out really, I think, because many other people just didn't do the job they were supposed to, said the mayor. Since the case broke, the mayor has moved to investigate the government's failure to prevent the deaths and to make the findings public. And he said the firings were meant to hold the employees accountable and to send a message to other city workers. In April 2009, the DC Office of the Inspector General released a report implicating not only the CFSA, but several other local government agencies, local government parties for failing to meet their obligations in the Jacks case and potentially prevent the 4 deaths. The Washington Post reported that the family was supposed to receive monthly visits based on its housing placement. It never did. The school system didn't follow through when the girls dropped out of school. Police didn't fully investigate when they were called to the house, and the healthcare providers did not follow up on things that should have been red flags according to the report. The report also faulted on an overall lack of coordination and communication between the various agencies involved with the family. To enhance the agency communication and coordination, the mayor proposed legislation which was passed into law, and this legislation amended the District of Columbia's confidentiality rules, making them less rigid and more aligned with what is permitted under federal privacy laws such as HIPAA and FERPA. On May 31st, 2013, the district will pay $2.6 million to settle a lawsuit brought in the death of the 4 slain children, in a case that prompted intense scrutiny of the city's child welfare system. According to the announcement, the money will go to those the city described as the legal heirs of the children's estates. Their names would not be immediately learned. As a part of the settlement, the DC Attorney General's office said those who have sued have agreed to donate part of the money to Safe Shores, the DC Children's Advocacy Center, a nonprofit charity devoted to the needs of abused and neglected children. The office said that the settlement requires the plaintiffs to pay $245,000 to set up special needs and educational trusts for living siblings and cousins of the deceased children. Also, $260,000 must be donated to the Safe Shores organization. A substantial amount will be deducted from the settlement for plaintiffs' attorney's fees, according to the release from the Attorney General's office. DC Attorney General Irvin B. Nathan said the case was settled to avoid the uncertainties of litigation and to speed closure of a painful experience for the family and the district. In mid-2008, while this was all going on, the foreclosed home where the Jacks family lived and the bodies were found was put up for sale. It was assessed originally at a value of $220,610, but the house was listed with a selling price of $163,000 in September of 2008, which slid downward to $90,900 by February 2009, and eventually the home went up for bank auction in March of 2009. This case is a really sad tale about what can happen when family and friends and even the system fail to watch or look out for our children and even the adults. In this situation, this mom, though I do not condone anything she did, she was very visibly and apparently struggling. She was secluding herself, isolating the children, and it's almost as though no one forced their way. And sometimes you have to force your way into helping. When someone is having a hard time, many times it's hard for them to accept help, ask for help, even to be rejecting of help. And in this situation, it's very sad to see that this is what happened to this young woman. woman and her children, whatever was haunting her after the death of her boyfriend, whatever was haunting her as far as in her life, and the religious ideologies, sometimes those things can be quite detrimental as well, to have these ideas of an overwhelming of a demon or Jezebel spirit and all of these things that we become so accustomed to hearing in our religious circles. They come to bite us in the end when someone is going through a situation or crisis and having mental health challenges. And it's really sad that of all the people surrounding this family, that this still had to happen to Banita and those children. I'm so sorry to hear about this story, but please, just if you know someone that is going through something that's very tough, you see them isolating, you see them not showing up, don't let years pass that you don't see children, especially the children. It's one thing to starve yourself in a home. You know, it was a process. This whole thing was a process, and the process began with isolation. It began with depriving themselves of food, depriving themselves of material goods, of the furniture, of in one story I read that there was an Xbox or some sort of gaming console that she just put in the middle of the street for neighbors to come and pick up, that she was just purging her life of everything around her and around the children. So when we see certain signs, you know, it's hard for us. We go to school to learn how to work in a building, but we don't go to learn how to help to recognize other human beings and how we are and what we do. And when the signs for help are present, the red flags are present, we don't get to see how to handle them. We don't get to learn how to recognize them. And this was unfortunately what happened to this family. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please look out for more videos to come. Please subscribe to the channel. Give me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video. Let's say just space.